friends, welcome back to Julia at Home. I'm Julia. Today's video is a history update. So this year we are covering the Middle Ages for history. Last year we did Ancients, and what I did is we went through Story of the World Volume 1, Ancients, but I also did units. And so it was a little easier actually to make the videos just on my units I did for history last year. This year, there are some, I would call them mini units, and just some random resources I've thrown in here and there as extra, but other than that, we're basically working through our curriculum. Today's video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we're using the curriculum and then just give you an update for my extra resources from about the years 1 AD to around 600 AD. It's not perfect. And we covered quite a few things in that time period, including the Mayans, the Celts, first Australians, Constantine, Muhammad. We talked a bit about what was happening in China and East Africa. So there was a lot covered during that period. I don't have extra resources for all of them, but I'm going to show you what I do have that helped round out our studies a bit. So if you've watched my videos in the past, especially my planning videos, you may know that my plan for this year was to use both Curiosity Chronicles and Story of the World. And I will link to my video here on how I was planning on doing history. And I did end up using Story of the World for a little bit just because where Ancients ended was a little bit before where the second volume of Curiosity Chronicles began, so there was a bit of a gap. So I did use Story of the World to kind of fill in that gap. However, I found that once we then picked up with Curiosity Chronicles, we just ran away with it, and I haven't really turned back to Story of the World. With Curiosity Chronicles, I do have the digital edition here, so it's all, I printed it out and put it in this binder. And it has pictures that go along with what they're talking about, which is really nice. And it does have a student activity guide and an instructor guide that all comes with the digital. I didn't print those both out, but what I do is I print out what I want each week. So they have map work, they have coloring pages, they sometimes have word searches and crosswords, and then they have lists of additional books you could add on or activities. And each chapter, I believe, has also a Minecraft idea. So if your kids are into that. In many ways, it's similar to the Story of the World activity book, but it goes with Curiosity Chronicles, and it's digital, which is nice. So we've really been enjoying that, and we've been listening to the audio version, which also comes with it for free, which I think works really well because it's in dialogue. And I was worried about the dialogue versus the story format of Story of the World. My kids really like the story format, and I think it's easy to narrate. But listening to the dialogue on audio where you actually have the two characters talking to each other, I think is really helpful and engaging. And it's nice for me not to have to read a subject. And what I do is I read along as we're listening, and I will pause it at certain times and have them narrate back so they're not doing the whole chapter at once. And that seems to have been working well as far as narration goes. So that's what we've been doing. But again, at the very beginning, I did use Story of the World a bit to fill in some of the gaps. We picked up with the Celts, and I have a few extra resources for them. There wasn't a lot about them. I think there's a little bit of Story of the World, but not a lot. So I wanted to round it out a little bit more. I got this hands-on activity Celts book, and we actually did, I think it was like the brooch or the, well, this is the food. We did try these oat cakes. And we used like air drying modeling clay to make like little torques, which are kind of like bracelet things, and brooches. Oh, here's the torques, like a necklace thing. I'll try to insert pictures here of our actual projects that we made. So that's what we started with this year. I also have a coloring page, Life in Celtic Times, and or coloring book, sorry. What I like to do is actually just copy some pages out of the books instead of just give them the whole book, and then I have it for the future and can just copy it for what I need. They also probably weren't going to do this whole thing. And I have, this comes with a CD. This is the Jim Weiss King Arthur stories. So we started them early. You could also do them a little bit later, but the historical figures, there's probably more than one that the King Arthur legend is based on, are really early in British history, probably more at the time of the Celts. So I did decide to start it then, and I think we came back to it a little bit later as well when we did our castles and knights, which I'll get to in another video. We also learned a bit about the Mayans, which I did not realize they were so much earlier than some of the other civilizations in Central and South America, such as the Incas and the Aztecs. So one thing I did is I found a video actually that we watched. So we watched a video on the Mayans, and we started this book, which is fantastic. It's Before Columbus, the Americas of 1491. I think this goes along with the book 1491. That's like more of an adult novel book, which is also fantastic. And we read a few chapters of this, just the really earliest ones, going through how old was the New World from Olmec to Maya. So we actually covered the Olmecs a little bit in this as well, which we had touched on in our ancient history year. So we just read through until we stopped before the Europeans came over. And we will be getting back to that time in just a little bit towards the end of this year here. But I just wanted to, I want to make sure I'm giving them a feel for the Native Americans in North, Central, and South America that were here before colonization. I think that's important. So I'm going to come back to this book a little bit and some other things too shortly. Actually, we haven't done it yet, but we're actually going to do a bit of a mini unit on the Native American tribes in North America, especially focusing on the ones in our area. But again, this was for the Mayans. And again, I also had a video. And the other thing we did when we were studying the Mayans is do a Mayan inspired meal. So this book talks a lot about maize and corn, and we made corn tortillas ourselves. It's the first time I made them. They actually turned out really good. I was actually really excited about them, and we had we tried to come up with a tortilla meal that had mostly ingredients that were native to Central and South America. So we had the corn tortillas, we had tomatoes, we had I'm not sure if avocado is, but it's delicious. And we did add that. And we actually had venison, which they probably had some form of deer at the time. Probably not the same kind we do, but that's what we had. So we did venison tacos, and they were delicious. And we actually now like to do that regularly. But that was our first time was during our Mayan studies. For both the Celts and the Mayans, and for other areas that we have been and are doing, I also have this book, Historium. And this was also really helpful for China. We got a bit into the, I'm not going to say it right, like the Tang dynasty. Some of the earlier Chinese, not ancient, some of the earlier medieval Chinese dynasties. And this is, again, this just has wonderful pictures here. They're the Mayans. And yeah, so it just has like the pictures. It has a description of what each thing is. It has the Celts here. I'll show you the Celts page as well. So that's really helpful to round out all of these units. I really like this book. Again, these aren't really units. These are just extra resources I was kind of throwing in there as we went along. Let me share this next. I know I've shared this before, but we're doing Artistic Pursuits. This is the Middle Ages book. And so this one, it just goes through various things. We actually haven't quite finished all the lessons I want to do in here yet. But I tried to find one. So like when we were doing Justinian was part of this time period. We did talk about this. This is Constantinople, Byzantine Empire. So it's kind of like the beginnings of the Byzantine Empire, and Justinian was during this time period I'm covering today. And the last thing in this time period that I have some extra stuff for is the birth and life of Muhammad and the founding of Islam. For Muhammad and the birth of Islam, I have this book by Demi, which is beautiful. I especially love, she doesn't, like, Muhammad is like a gold silhouette in all the photos because Muslims don't show images of Muhammad. And they also have like the honorific in Arabic after his name. So it's very respectful, and I like that. She has wonderful books on many different religious figures. So like we also have her book on Buddha. I know she has one on Jesus and on Mary. So yeah, I think Mary, mother of Jesus, not Mary Magdalene, but I'd have to check. Yeah, and so this is a really good place to start for that. I also have this book of Islamic wisdom. It's just short stories and some quotes in here. And Like each story is only a couple pages long, and there's often these quotes in between. And my kids really like them. They're beautiful, short, good stories and good wisdom. So that's that one. Then the last thing we did for Muhammad and the birth of Islam is the 5 pillars of Islam we talked about. And so we had this drawing. I think this one is actually from Story of the World, I think. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I think it is. That I had remembered it was there. So I just printed this out and we wrote in what the 5 pillars are, and then my kids just colored it in. This is my daughter's. So that's kind of the beginning of my history update from about the year 100 to 600 AD, give or take. Of course, we covered a lot more than that. That was just my extra resources. So in Curiosity Chronicles, they did, for every chapter, they've done map work of where we are in the world. They've done some coloring pages. And then I didn't have something extra every chapter. And I just wanted to let you guys know that. It's really fun to round out history and deep dive, but I actually do want to keep us moving and get all over the world in world history within about 5 years, take us from ancient to modern day. And so to do that, I can't fill in everything, but it could be that next time we go through, we fill in different things. I will be doing some more short videos on what we've covered since then in history up until now, including Vikings and the Islamic Golden Age, medieval books and writing, and we just finished a Castle and Knight mini unit. So I will share all that in future videos. I just wanted to share with you the resources I used for this time period in history where I expanded mostly on the Celts, the Mayans, and Muhammad and the birth of Islam. So until next time, I hope you're all doing well, and I'll talk to you later.